All right, so this week in Pax Dei, we got the roadmap for the future of PvP, and there is a lot of stuff to talk about. Some stuff that we are expecting, some stuff that's definitely slightly different than what we were expecting, and a whole lot more. So hello and welcome back, all of you amazingly professional consumers of Pax Dei and Pax Dei related content out there. I'm Altari, the professional gamer, and this is another episode of the Pax Friday Review, the show where we talk about all the fun, interesting, new, and exciting information that has dropped for Pax Dei over the last week. Like I said, this week we got a pretty decently sized blog post talking explicitly about the future of PvP in Pax Dei. There is a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got a image of the map of Lyonesse 2.0. We actually have it now. We can see some specific points of interest that I find interesting on that map as well. We're going to talk about that. We're going to go and hit that blog post there. I mean, we're talking about feudal systems. We're talking about parishes, market towns. There's a lot to break down in this blog post, and we're going to do that all here. So if you haven't done so, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe so you can get notified whenever we come out with new Pax Dei or Pax Dei related content, and share with any of your friends who might be interested in staying up to date with all things Pax Dei. We're heading over to playpaxdei.com to take a look at this blog post now. I'll see you over there. All right, and here we are on playpaxdei.com, and we have a lot of new information when it comes to the PvP system, how it's being reworked specifically. And we're going to talk about a lot of things that are changing, a lot of things that, okay, so the people who write these blog posts over at Mainframe, I'm pretty sure they moonlight as cryptologists, because some of the information here can easily be glossed over if you're not really reading for what it is, or at least maybe that's it for me. Maybe my reading comprehension's just really low. I'm sure someone will let me know in the comment section, but either way, this is the start of Pax Dei in earnest. And what do I mean by that? So up until this point, it has been a linear progression game. You start off, you start farming resources, you build up your base, you go from point A to point B. The start of this rework with the new PvP system coming online, with all of these other kind of meta clans. I don't even know exactly how to describe it other than something that's a little bit more than a clan is right now, and in some cases a lot more than a clan is right now. But you're taking these meta organizations, I guess, and now we're spinning conflict into things, player created conflict more specifically. And that's really what is going to make Pax Dei its own game. Up until this point, it almost has kind of mimicked a survival game without the survival mechanics. It's a base building game. You could kind of equate it to like a very good looking multiplayer version of Valheim. There's a lot of other comparables to it, but where it's supposed to differentiate itself is in all of these social systems that haven't come online yet. And here we are looking at the first of them. And in some ways, many of the social systems, the way they're organized, are all tied into each other. We're going to be getting them in bite-sized chunks, it seems like, over the next couple of months. So what exactly am I talking about? So the role of PvP in Pax Dei is multifold, they say. We want to see PvP systems result in large alliances being formed, castles being built, and drama unfolding in the field of war and politics with spies, backstabbing, and bribery. Okay, sounds like a very dynamic system. Getting to the top leadership positions should be hard work, but also attainable with cunning. A ruler leading the largest army in game should never have to step on the field of battle if they and their subjects so choose. It'll take time, but each update will get us closer to this vision. So we have the map. We're going to take a look at the map here in a little bit. I have a bigger blown up version of it, but also a couple of pictures. It looks like this might be kind of near the one of the Petra Dei in Lyonesse. I think this might just be an area in Lyonesse. most likely a point of interest. This looks like some of the ruins, empire ruins that we've seen before. And then everything is split up into phases. So we have phase 1, which is probably coming in the next week or two. Then we have phase 2, which is coming maybe a month or 3 down the line. And then we have after phase 2, which has a lot more intricate systems. So phase 1, what's going on? This is verse 4. It should be coming out soon. It supposedly is going to be here before the mid of September, because that's when all the kids are going back into school, and that's what we're sticking to. And with that in particular, what are we getting? Well, firstly, we're getting these two little things right here. This, I believe, is called, let's see if we can find the resource name, Amber Grasp and Cannonite. So Cannonite is this mineral looking thing. Amber Grasp is this kind of gnarled root looking thing that looks like it's grasping amber. Go figure. Both of these resources are going to be usable by both alchemy and jewel crafting to create what is called sanctified oil. Sanctified oil can then be used to enchant any gear with item power, up to 125 points being boosted to the item of the enchanted, or to the item power of the enchanted item. These things are permanent. So whenever you apply this to a piece of armor or equipment, you will be getting a permanent 125 point item power boost to that item until its lifetime durability has gone down. There is more to talk about on lifetime durability coming up. So if that's something that interests you, it's going to have a huge impact on the economy. But that's phase 1, the start of verse 4. And we are basically just getting access to the new map, which is right here, which is 10 by 10 kilometers. It is now separated into 5 zones, 4 zones around the corners, plus a central zone in the middle, accessible from all of the corners. I have my thoughts on this. I do think that, so you have the 4 corners. Clearly, that must mean that each of the 4 regions, being not regions, but provinces, specifically Innis Gallia, Caries, Mary, and Ancien, those are all going to have connections that are leading to here. That might also be kind of a natural progression then for if players are coming to do combat, they might naturally kind of align with each other for these specific regions. I don't know, but there are some really interesting little map locations across all of these regions that I think are going to be really interesting to look at. But before we get into that, let's continue further down. You can see in a picture here that we have a master crafted or an enchanted item here that does have an additional boost in enchantment to item power 400. And it is important to note that in this image that the base power is 350, the enchantment is upping it to 50. So that means that there's going to definitely be tiers to which you can upgrade these. Maybe the higher level you are in jewel crafting and alchemy, the higher you'll be able to actually get these enchantment bonuses, or maybe you just have to get additional passes on actually applying an enchantment. So the first time that you apply the enchantment, you get 50. The second time you apply the enchantment, it gets up to another 50. So now you're at 100 total, and you can do that all the way up to 125. Who knows? I do think 125, if we can craft up to a tier 4, then the math kind of works out to be in 25 item power increments all the way up to what the maximum tier is right now, being tier 4 or 5. So that is, I definitely think, how we're going to be getting access to these enchantments. And then alchemy and jewel crafting will have access to be able to craft these. I don't know if you have to have both in order to craft, or the jewel crafting can do the same thing that the alchemy can do, or maybe it's only applicable to certain types of gear for jewel crafting versus alchemy. We'll have to see. Next up, we have phase 2. Now, phase 2 is where things start getting very interesting. So up until phase 2, all that's really changing is we're getting access to enchantments, we get access to the new map, and we get access to the new resources in order to make the enchantments. So not much is changing other than the ability to get access to these resources, though there is no incentive really to go in PvP more than really there already is in Lyonesse currently. There's just resources there. Yeah, if you want to go get your particular boosts in item power, then yeah, you could go there right now. However, up until phase 2, there is no other explicit reasons to go out into Lyonesse for other purposes other than these resources. That's when phase 2 comes in. While Heartlands in Pax Dei will be sacrosanct and will not be wiped after the game is launched, Lyonesse will feature seasons. The rules and gameplay will change in Lyonesse between the seasons, and the first one will likely last 6 months. So there is a seasonal loop now that Pax Dei is going to go into, specifically with PvP. You can kind of think of this like a campaign in any other game that has, I believe a good example would maybe be like Foxhole has seasons of PvP where there's campaigns that you have to kind of go into and then afterwards they get reset. Except in Pax Dei, you do get to keep, even when Lyonesse resets, you still get to keep all of the stuff from the previous wipe into the next one. So what that means is things will change about every 6 months. There will be a cadence for new PvP content. The rules are going to be changing as well as gameplay every single time. That means every year we're going to be getting 2 different campaigns to be playing for PvP specifically. And after the PvP update, after verse 4, we'll introduce a new mechanism where clans will be able to claim a piece of land in Lyonesse and place plots in the area they've claimed. So this specifically, what does this mean? You'll be able to claim a piece of land in Lyonesse and then place plots in that area. So it's important that we note that there's a couple of areas here where the language gets very technically specific. The plots will allow building exactly as if you were in the Heartlands, with the distinction that the plot placement is only available to members of the clan. So for these, it does sound like the claimable land that you can get in Lyonesse is going to be linked to our normal plot system. So if you claim this piece of land, you will most likely have to use a plot token in order to actually place a plot down. If you don't have any plots available, then that's it. The plots are gone. Maybe. We'll see why. The number of spots that can be claimed will be limited. To capture a spot, the clans will have to have access to a new resource to pay for the claim, and upkeep for the ownership. The resource will be constrained in availability, and clans who want to own land in Lyonesse will either be trading or fighting to get access to it. So we haven't really gotten an explicit definition of what this resource is yet, just that there is a resource that will exist. And in order to claim a particular area, you will have to pay upkeep in order to maintain ownership. Having land in Lyonesse will be a huge benefit, bringing safety, storage, crafting to the clan in that area. The claimed spot is likely to act as a respawn shrine for the clan in control of the site. So being in control of a spot next to a good PvE site will be extremely beneficial. So this, again, is talking explicitly with regards to Lyonesse and the PvE sites in Lyonesse. Important to note, we are not talking about outside of the Heartlands at this point in time. We are talking about inside Lyonesse. We are looking at improving some plot level permissions as part of this work to facilitate creation of safe fortresses. So again, the permissions that we've been talking about with the developers for a while. We're also looking at changing the rules related to death and property. So this is what I was mentioning earlier in the video. Right now, Pax Dei forces the same rules everywhere across the game. and the need for a corpse run feels very harsh in the Heartlands. We don't have final details yet, but it is likely that going forward, you're no longer going to have to make corpse runs after respawning in a shrine in home valleys. So we kind of shifted a bit here. We're not talking about Lyonesse anymore. We're talking about dying in general. And what they are saying is that right now, having to run back to your corpse after you die is a little bit brutal. So instead, what they are doing, it sounds like, is that when you die, you can respawn and you will get all of your gear back. However, and that's where the second part of the sentence comes in, they will also likely add a small chance for some stackable items being destroyed and will tune the death damage to any gear with health. So what does that mean? It means, yes, when you die, you will respawn. You will respawn with all of your gear. However, the amount of lifetime durability damage or durability damage in general that you are taking on that gear is going to be adjusted and scaled a little bit more. And you'll also have the ability for some stackable items to be destroyed. So this could be resources and other things like that. Doesn't sound like equipable gear will be on the list of things that can be destroyed. So your Sylvan staff that you've spent 40 hours gathering the Quicksilver for is not at risk of being just absolutely zapped because you accidentally tripped and fell down a cliff. But it will take some more durability damage. So in phase 2, there is going to be an update to how we're respawning. There's also going to be the ability to claim land. And that claimed land is going to be based off of being able to use a new resource to pay for the claim, upkeep it, and own it. Now, after phase 2 happens, so maybe this is a couple of months away, probably closer to release, phase 2 is. When we have after phase 2, the following features are in design phase, so the timing and other exact design parameters have not been decided yet. So up until this point, what have we had? Because again, it's important to know where we're at currently at these different phases. All the way through phase 2, clans are the main function of doing PvP. Your clan will go into Lyonesse and will be able to PvP in Lyonesse as they normally do now. There is no alliance mechanic all the way through phase 2, or if there is, it may or may not be there. It just hasn't been specified specifically for phase 2. So only clans are going to be fighting each other in and up to phase 2. After phase 2 is where crazy things happen. And that is because now we're bringing in all of the social dynamics. So there are 3 different ones. There is the feudal houses, market towns, and parishes. So the feudal houses are a clan. You cannot be what we originally thought was a knighthood was something that stands next to a clan and multiple players from multiple clans could join a single knighthood. That is not the case. Feudal houses are going to basically replace the clans that you are in if you are a PvP player. So if you want to PvP, you want to participate in Lyonesse and being able to claim land in Lyonesse, you are going to be in a feudal house. If you don't want to participate in that, you might want to stay in just a clan. We'll talk a little bit more about that after we get through this. But feudal houses allow for the clan to flag itself as a feudal house, and the clan leader will become a knight. Knights can swear fealty to one another and form larger alliances, which will affect the PvP flagging of all players in the alliance. They will likely require that the land in Lyonesse can only be controlled by houses. So before phase 2, could just be controlled by clans. After phase 2, clans will no longer be able to own land. Most likely it will be restricted explicitly to houses with the knights that are in them. Houses are likely to get the means to claim areas outside of Lyonesse as their sphere of influence and gain benefits such as taxation rights in these areas. However, doing this will open the alliance up to war declarations, with the alliance being flagged for PvP outside of Lyonesse when at war. This paragraph is probably one of the ones that you have to pay a lot of attention to. So specifically, houses are likely to get the means to claim areas outside of Lyonesse as their sphere of influence. We are saying claim areas outside of Lyonesse as their sphere of influence. That does not mean necessarily that you will be able to claim areas outside of Lyonesse with physical plots. The way that I read this and the way that everything else is shaping up, to me, it seems more like sphere of influence is explicitly or more implicitly referring to having an effect over a specific area outside of Lyonesse. Going back to the map over here, we do have the 4 different regions kind of represented in the 4 different regions of Lyonesse. Maybe if you control a certain amount of an area that's correlating to carries, for example, would then elicit a sphere of influence over carries, or maybe it's linked to home valleys or something like that. I do believe that it is referring to claiming areas outside of Lyonesse as a sphere of influence. You're not necessarily getting to build out in the wilderness, but you are going to get to tax or have the right to tax those areas that you have an influence over. When you do this specifically, when your house, your feudal house, goes and tries to affect a sphere of influence outside of Lyonesse, that is when you'll open the alliance that you're in, not the house, but all of the people that are allied with you who have sworn allegiance to each other, and that alliance will be available to declare war on. Up until that point, you might not, just because you're in a feudal house, you might not actually have an ability to have a war declared on you. It's only when you control an influence outside of Lyonesse, which probably means when you control actual land in Lyonesse, that you will have the ability to have war declared on you. When you do this, everyone in your alliance, all of the feudal houses that are in your alliance will be flagged for PvP, and this will also be applicable outside of Lyonesse when you're at war. So that means everyone who is in a feudal house who is at war, you will most likely be attackable all the way out of Lyonesse in the wilderness, and possibly even in the home valleys that you are residing in. We do not have information on how you actually go to war. It's most likely not going to be something explicitly free. You are going to have to coordinate and spend a lot of time and effort to actually declare war against someone. So there is going to be counterplay involved in these as well. You're not always going to perpetually be flagged for PvP, it sounds like, and you're only really going to be applicable in a war if your house has sworn allegiance to someone, or you yourself have a property of some sort that has been claimed in Lyonesse and are affecting influence outside of that. Next, we have market towns. Market towns are going to change the areas around Petrodes and Lyonesse. So there are a couple of these that we can, I think, see in the map above. We'll talk about that after we get through this. The areas will stay as safe harbors inside Lyonesse and feature plots that allow building. Where the plots elsewhere in Lyonesse require combat for ownership, the plots in the market towns will use economic competition, and you will be bidding gold against other players for control of these plots. This is different from the knighthoods, who up here, we said that a mechanism allowing clans to claim a piece of land and then place plots on them. The difference here is that in market towns, you will spend gold, you will be competing against other players who are bidding for it, and then you'll get plots that are there. This, to me, sounds like there is potential where your plot tokens might not be consumed, and it will be literally just gold that you are bidding against other players to get access to building in these market towns. However, there's going to be a risk involved with this as well, mostly being other players can come in and outbid you or possibly even take that space from you over time. It is important to note that all of the plots that exist in Lyonesse are most likely going to be getting wiped every 6 months. These are not permanent things. You will still very much so need to be outside of Lyonesse to have your base of operations. If you're looking to PvP, you will still need to be there. If you're not looking to PvP and you're trying to benefit off of these market towns, the exact same thing will apply. You are going to be safe in these market towns. People won't be able to kill you. The plots that you have inside these market towns are guaranteed safety. They're also guaranteed to be great marketplaces, as players are going to constantly be coming and going and needing gear to continue the fight. That is market towns. They want these areas to be central trading hubs and are likely to make changes related to speed travel and resource transportation as the towns come online, but they don't have exact details to share. So the speed and travel resource transportation, I think, is going to be more reflective of there's going to be more limitations to how fast you can get somewhere or if you can teleport in order to incentivize the benefits, again, of towns, market towns specifically. And then lastly, we have parishes. Parishes will allow players to form an alliance to enable a priest to collect large amounts of grace. They're looking at enabling the priest to not only cast new, very expensive miracles, but also to control Pax Dei with altars. So again, Pax Dei, this is the divine peace with altars, meaning you can affect how peaceful an area is based on using these altars. And then they preface securing claim sites in Lyonesse from PvP. So again, it, I believe, is linked to the resource up here where it says that clans will be able to use a new resource to pay for the claim and upkeep it for the ownership. So I think parishes might be connected to that resource, but we don't know exactly yet. But it does sound like priests are going to be involved in some way, shape, or form in securing claim sites in Lyonesse from PvP as well. They're also looking at new positions of power, which this is a specific name that Mainframe has for these types of features, positions of power, where priests can anoint members of feudal houses into new positions. I do believe that priests in this way are going to be connected to effectively promoting knighthoods into baronies or kingdoms for that matter. So there's some really interesting dynamics. Now, on the parish system specifically, I do think that parishes, it says form an alliance. It has no mention of forming a clan related to parishes. So I do think that a parish will be something that can be across feudal houses, across clans as an alliance of sorts. That alliance is going to technically be different than the alliances that are formed by feudal houses, those being knighthoods, baronies, kingdoms, as opposed to parishes, which are going to be like dioceses and various areas of affluence there. That was a lot of stuff to cover. And then at the very end, we have get ready for the new era of PvP. As you can imagine, these updates require a lot of work, changes, additions, and adjustments. Not everything will all be released at once. The new era of Pax Dei PvP will start with new Lyonesse and enchanting. Following this, they'll be adding building in Lyonesse with more to follow. And they also have a direct feedback link. You should go check it out on their official Discord. And this is a lot of changes that are coming. And some of them are not what I expected. Some of them might make it a little bit more difficult for how, like, the organization that I'm in, the Golden Company and the Golden City, organize. There's actually some really exciting potential here that not ideal based on my own headcanon, but I could see them actually benefiting. The more and more I've thought about it over the course of the day before filming, I do think that there are some really good opportunities here, but we're going to have to see how it plays out. The one thing that I never like in games is when you force players to split because of their interests. That's the one thing that I really don't like. And with this system right now, it does seem like if you are in a group or a clan that has some people who don't want to PvP and some people who do, you might have to split and part ways, where your PvPers are going to have their own PvP side and your non-PvPers will not. That is yet to be seen exactly, though, because we do not have the specifics. That is all that we have to cover for this. Let's go take a really quick look at the map here, though. There are a couple of places that I want to point out as well that I find pretty exciting. And yeah, we're going to go take a look at that. So I'll see you over there. All right, and here we are at the map. Now, first things first, always good to go and check out the actual index for this map, or the legend, I mean. And here we have nothing new in particular, but this is a big but. For starters, I do think the map, at least the road system for the map, has been updated. Looks like a little bit. Here you can see what looks to be probably the entryway gate for down here. I think we'll probably see another one right here. And then we see the other right there. And the last one is right here. So pathway from when you enter goes this way. Now there are a couple of interesting points on each section. Firstly, we have these little points. This one looks interesting as well, possibly even a capturable castle. But this is the thing that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. This is what I believe to be the trade towns, or the merchant towns. There is one in each of the regions. Here's another one right here. This one looks actually really cool. It looks like there's a little top here to a mountain, and then it kind of pieces down and goes around. Then we also have over here another one. This one's along a river, so there's going to be a little bridge site right there. Actually, two of them. And then over here, we do have the last one. I think this one will be pretty popular to try and buy, or to try and buy parts of, because, I mean, let's be real, it's like kind of lake town right there, overlooking the Lonely Mountain, it seems. But in each of these areas, there does seem to be roads or areas that might kind of imply something slightly different than what we're used to. Now, we do have the legend for the map, but we actually don't have any points of interest listed. I don't know if that's because they've been hidden or not, but if there just are no points of interest, then it's potential that these are actual claimable locations across the map, because there's several. These ones, the ones that the roads kind of go around something, to me, those are more of the PvE locations, or where the roads kind of end. But these are something new that we haven't seen on the map before, which look like places that can actually be claimed. So going to be very, very interesting to see what those are. I'd love to kind of hear what you all think those are going to be in the comments down below. But there also seems to be some of them also in the central location too. And also this region seems to be pretty popular with regards to resources as well, though there are some located also in the actual individual 4 quadrants as well. Lots of things to look at over this map. This one, obviously, this one's such an interesting one in regards to that too. I keep on coming back to these and just finding new things. But that's all that we have for today. Let me know down in the comments what you think everything in the maps are. Are these merchant towns? Are these claimable sites? Are the smaller ones even more claimable sites? Are they just POIs? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe so you can get notified whenever we post new Pax Dei or Pax Dei related content, and share with any of your friends who want to stay up to date with Pax Dei. This update is going to change everything when it comes to Pax Dei. I'm so excited for it, even though it's not what was explicitly expected. I look forward to covering it with all of you. Until the next video, I'm Altari, the Professional Gamer.